the system is like, it's a goofy system. It's a popularity contest to see who controls the nukes.
Right.
It makes no sense.
Who controls the nukes? I just feel like lefties and righties don't like him.
You're right.
Both people don't like him.
But there's no choices other than him on the left, and the people on the left are only going to vote on the left, and that's it. Unless some Mamdani guy comes out of left field. And
Is that
says,
the New York guy?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It's almost comedic. Orion Mandel is one of those up-and-coming New York politicians who behaves like he single-handedly discovered human suffering. He talks about renters, baristas, and subway passengers with the dramatic flair of someone narrating a Sundance documentary about the brave young man who uncovered inequality in New York City in the year 2025.
But the point that you're making is right, which is that we have to have a housing policy for all 8.5 million people. That's why you couple a rent freeze with construction of 200,000 truly affordable.
Every speech he gives carries the energy of a guy who believes, I read theory instead of paying rent, is a personality trait. The funny part is that rent policy is his entire brand. And somehow, he's convinced half the city that describing a crisis passionately is the same thing as fixing it.
Think about affordability more with the median household income in New York City, which is $70,000 for a family of four.
I love it.
So you have to increase that, and you have to make it easier for the private sector to also.
His rise isn't mysterious once you understand the niche political ecosystem he thrives in. In that world, detailed plans are optional, vibes are mandatory. Just say, solidarity, oppression, and abolish in a rotating loop, and suddenly you're treated like an oracle of revolution. Orion figured out early that emotional intensity beats practical competence. He built an entire career out of Tumblr-style rhetoric packaged as policy, delivered with the excitement of someone who just discovered the word bourgeoisie. He selected landlords as his main villain, which is the political equivalent of choosing gravity as your primary antagonist.
And that's why you have to take this as an opportunity to also tackle the costs that landlords are facing. Because when I speak to landlords,
Talk to me about that. That's interesting.
I hear that the insurance of affordable housing units has doubled in the last few years.
Hating landlords is practically a national pastime. Nobody hears landlords bad and collapses from shock. But Orion presents it like he has unearthed the ancient scrolls of economic justice. Every time he breathes out rent control, he glances around the room like he deserves a medal for courage. It's performance politics disguised as policymaking.
The thing is, maybe what he wants to do is going to coincide with AI and automation, which is going to be, you're going to have someone who has at least some sort of, not like pure socialism, but at the very least universal basic income, like the ideas that they want to implement. Because if you don't, you're going to have chaos. You're going to have, all jobs are going to, essentially, most jobs are on the chopping block.
Look, I understand the image he's trying to project, but let's be honest. Wrapping old socialist fantasies in shiny tech futurist language doesn't magically make them smart. Yes, automation is transforming everything, but the solution isn't giving the national wallet to every activist who thinks universal income is a protective spell. What Orion calls forward-thinking policy is usually the same old push toward government dependency, just dressed in modern vocabulary. Instead of helping workers, innovators, and small businesses adapt, he sidelines them under a blanket of top-down programs that balloon budgets and suffocate incentives. Leadership prepares people to compete, not to hide behind one-size-fits-all paychecks.
You have a property tax system that's broken in New York City, one that effectively penalizes rental apartments and the owners of those rental apartments. And if you had a system that incentivized the construction of rental apartments, you could have a very different landscape of housing. So to me, it's freeze the rent and take on the cost of insurance and fix a broken property tax system and streamline development and have the city produce 200,000 homes.
And that's the core problem. He talks like someone who skimmed Economics 101 an hour ago and only remembers the chapter titles. Rent freezes, revolutionary. Punitive taxes, groundbreaking. Endless expansion of city-funded programs, visionary. Budgets, to him, aren't mathematical constraints. They're capitalist oppression. He treats basic fiscal reality like it's a personal attack. When he talks, it sounds like capitalism scratched his car and stole his lunch. Everything becomes injustice. Every issue becomes evidence of corruption. And every proposal is delivered with the seriousness of a man staging a hunger strike outside the transit office because his train was late once in 2013. But dramatic monologues don't fix sewer systems or repair train tracks. The funniest part of the progressive universe he orbits is how their self-image never matches their behavior. They preach kindness while scolding critics like drill sergeants. They champion inclusivity while dismissing disagreement as moral failure. They talk about privilege while sipping overpriced pastries on their MacBooks. They claim to defend working people, but working people rarely see themselves in this movement. Instead, the people are always the same archetypes: activists, cyclists, part-time creatives, and liberal arts enthusiasts who experience reality through vibes alone. Meanwhile, the real workforce, nurses, construction crews, deli owners, drivers, hear Orion's proposals and wonder whether he wants to help them or make their lives a bureaucratic obstacle course. When communities push back, Orion responds with the confidence of a sophomore philosophy major diagnosing them with internalized capitalism. It's politics as group therapy, except the therapist sets your house on fire and calls it liberation. His grand ideas fall apart the instant they meet reality. Rent freezes sound noble until someone asks how buildings will stay functional. Heavy taxes sound bold until you remember that businesses can leave. Expanded programs sound kind until the budget collapses. Every time someone asks a practical question, he looks genuinely surprised that reality requires answers.
What was his policy? What did he run on?
He ran at everything. Rent control, stabilized rent. He's going to tax the rich people way more than before. Businesses are going to run out of that place like
Crumble.
It's on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Cheers
But,
to Manhattan.
This is where the capitalism versus socialism contrast becomes impossible to ignore. Orion advocates for systems that historically collapse under their own weight: command economies, central planning, state-controlled markets, while brushing off their failures as irrelevant details. Capitalism, flawed as it is, has lifted billions from poverty and generated the innovation his supporters use to criticize capitalism online. But to Orion and his circle, those facts are inconvenient speed bumps on the road to aesthetic revolution. He isn't selling plans, he's performing ideology. He speaks in sound bites engineered for social media, not city budgets. His followers aren't invested in outcomes. They're attracted to the spectacle of radicalism without responsibility. Then came the moment when several candidates vowed to follow a diplomatic tradition. Orion refused, declaring he was focused solely on staying local. Some praised him, others saw convenient avoidance. It felt like a student refusing a required class but calling it a philosophical stand. His supporters reacted with acrobatic logic, suddenly claiming that refusing global engagement was enlightened activism, from the same people who demand global stances on every crisis. Moral consistency is optional when defending your favorite personality. His followers love his ideas as long as no one mentions consequences. They cheer, "Tax the rich," but recoil when reminded that the rich can relocate. They treat economics like a magic vending machine. Press the justice button and infinite funds appear. Meanwhile, businesses quietly whisper, "We're moving to Florida," and progressives shout, "Greed," as if that ever stopped a relocation. They want higher wages but support regulations that crush small businesses. They demand more housing but resist buildings that block sunlight. They claim to protect workers but create rules that make hiring workers impossible. Feelings outrank facts. Orion fits perfectly because he is a vibes-first politician. Practicality is bourgeois. Numbers are oppression. He speaks like a motivational speaker reading quotes about dismantling capitalism, even though all his programs rely on capitalist revenue. The people he imagines are always the same: activists with tote bags, cyclists with protest stickers, and extremely online ideologues posting infographics as public service. Meanwhile, real residents wonder why he's designing a fantasy city instead of fixing the real one. And if you disagree with him, you're not just mistaken. You're unethical, complicit, harmful. It's a great debate strategy, but a terrible governing strategy. Even fellow progressives sometimes describe him as too much, like hot sauce that ruins the entire meal. He could support achievable reforms, like zoning fixes, transit efficiency, or cutting red tape. But those aren't revolutionary. They don't go viral. Instead, he chooses grand theatrics that collapse under basic arithmetic.
Yeah.
That's the goal, because we're building 4 homes per 1,000 people. Jersey City's at 7.
Yeah.
Tokyo?
His vision imagines New York as a socialist utopia where everything is perfectly coordinated, perfectly funded, and perfectly fair. A dream undone every time it's been tried. But Orion and his allies treat those failures like irrelevant myth. Meanwhile, their daily contradictions are impossible to ignore. They condemn capitalism while using iPhones, wearing Nike, drinking Starbucks, and posting on platforms owned by billionaires. They want to dismantle the system after brunch. They want free housing, healthcare, education, and transit, funded by taxes from an economy they want to weaken. Their activism is 90% aesthetic, 10% yelling, and 0% budgeting. Orion is their ideal leader. Emotional speeches, yes. Practical management, pending. He can lead rallies, generate memes, and deliver dramatic sound bites. But none of that proves he can manage anything beyond a protest. Governance requires math, not slogans. To his fans, he's a visionary. To people who just want trash collected, trains running, businesses open, and budgets balanced, he's a cautionary tale. He shows what happens when ideology replaces engineering, when passion replaces planning, and when politics becomes performance art judged by applause rather than outcomes. In a city full of loud voices, Orion might be the loudest. In a political landscape full of contradictions, he might be the purest. And in a system that often feels like a comedy show, he might be its most unintentionally hilarious character. Honestly, that might be the only part of his platform that works flawlessly.